Little Horse and Big Conversation. Welcome to Little Horse and Big Conversation, where we give them their say, let the horse guide the way. Here at Little Horse and Big Conversation, we have the choice, so let's give them a voice. Here at Little Horse and Big Conversation, Little Horse and Big Conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the Little Horse Big Conversation podcast. We are your hosts, Ross Cooper and Amy Mitchell, and today we are joined by another special guest for a great conversation. We have the dual founder of Fascia and Trauma Release and Equine Fascia and Trauma Release, Liza Kimble. Liza, thank you for joining us and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, guys. Lovely to be here.
So, Ross, Liza very kindly sent you over a great big bio, and I think you've managed to pull together a fabulous summary of the highlights. Would you like to give
that
Liza,
wasn't
it? Give Liza a full rundown.
So, for anyone who is not familiar with Liza or Liza's work, Liza began her professional journey in 1993 as a massage therapist for humans. Since then, quite obviously dedicating herself to a lifelong pursuit of knowledge in holistic and therapeutic practices, not just for people, but for horses as well. And one of the things that I really like about how Liza works is it's that integration of ancient healing modalities with contemporary scientific discoveries blended together to make a really interesting and unique way of working, which I know you guys will get a vibe for that as the conversation goes along. And Liza has also attended the Fascia Summer Schools in Ulm and Leipzig in 2015 and 2018. Liza founded...
Right, I went to this one, which was...
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not in the bio.
Sorry, missed that one out. That wasn't in the bio. Liza then went on to found the Fascia and Trauma Release in 2010 and Equine Fascia Trauma Release in 2017, which are a combination of gentle fascia release massage techniques, trauma release exercises, and neurophysiology. So I think actually, shall we start there? How did all of this begin for you, Liza? Which I think is always the first question to ask. So, human massage, where did that start for you?
So I was actually off to study journalism at university, and my mum said to me, can you guarantee me that you're not just going to party up a storm and like this is your complete and utter dream? And I couldn't answer her. So I went overseas for a year and decided, not sure about this journalism thing. Let me try to just do something else. And eventually a friend of hers threw me into this massage course, which wasn't really, as I say, my dream, but my dream had always been to work with animals, be with animals. I've grown up with cows. I've had a horse since I was 3. They were my whole life, and humans weren't really a focus at all. But I didn't have the good enough results to be a veterinarian. And I think worldwide, we all know that requires a lot of dedication and studying, really good school marks. And I was always a bit more of a class clown, actually. So there was nothing else really to study regarding animals back in the early 90s. There wasn't even something like equine studies at university, which we get now. So I then fell into this course of human massage, and it turned out to just be completely natural to me, like I'd done it my whole life and then did it my whole life. Yeah, it just came so naturally. I don't know if it's because I'd grown up on a farm and I was strong and I could just do this. But I actually loved it. And what really grabbed was the anatomy and physiology. We did a really good course in anatomy and physiology, and I aced it. I got like the prize for the best scholar, which was really fun. And
Excellent.
was in turn given a reflexology and meridian therapy scholarship, which I think,
Awesome.
yeah. So it just that it's like I was just dragged there and then just
Yeah.
continued with the road. It didn't in those days occur to me to massage my horses because, thank goodness, because it was very, very rough. You know, we were doing Swedish and sports and kind of medicinal massage, and it was really strong and powerful. Even with the aromatherapy side, we were still, I was still giving it good wooma, you know, a lot of
Yeah.
elbows and fists and stuff. And so thank God I wasn't massaging the horses back then. And but of course, I carried on with my riding. I always had my animals with me, and over the years, tried to figure out how I was obsessed with trying to help problems. I'm still obsessed, like trying to figure out how to figure things that people can't figure out, or it wasn't clear, like the headaches and the migraines. And when I studied the trigger point, myofascial trigger point therapy, I did all of that. I did acupuncture, laser acupuncture, not proper acupuncture. I did a whole lot of stuff, and it just wasn't working. People just were still in pain, or it would work for 2 days and then it would come back. And it was I found it super frustrating. It was great for business, but it was really, really frustrating because I felt like I was just enabling something and no one was really feeling any better. And then the amazing thing that happened was also just by chance, I had 3 great friends who said to me, "You've got to do this course by a guy called David Baselli from America. And he's coming to teach something called TRE." And I had no idea what that was. I had never done it before. I hadn't read his books, but I just trusted. And I went along and I did the course and I was blown away. It was a week with Dr. Baselli and it changed everything. It was suddenly all about trauma. And it just clicked for me so hard why everyone was still in pain and why everything that I was doing physically for them in a treatment perspective wasn't holding. And he was the first one who mentioned fascia, actually. He said
Oh,
it's,
really?
yeah, he said it's stored in the fascia. And that was fascinating to me. And I thought, well, I've got to figure out what this is. And honestly, within a few months, a course came up and I went. And again, that was for humans, obviously. It was myself and a bunch of chiros and physiotherapists and massage therapists that were friends of mine at the time. We all went and we tortured each other for about 3 or 4 years. But but it didn't really sit with me well because of the trauma aspect that I'd learned and how I, my own body, felt re-traumatized every time I was having this incredibly deep, hard fascial technique on my own body. And I would have to tremor violently afterwards. And I was like, this is so weird. This is just doesn't feel right. Long story short, ended up in the fascia summer school. Don't even know how that happened. It just popped up on my computer one day. And that changed again so much because they were teaching us the science. They weren't teaching us techniques. They were teaching us the science behind the neurology of the fascial system. Yes. And how sensitive it is and how sensitive the receptors are that are within the fascia. And a lot of them are free nerve endings, which are linked to pain. So they can give you pain receptors. They talk to your brain and tell you whether you're safe or not. They give the brain so much interoceptive information. And after that, everything changed. And I went home and I started to work on the horses because I just felt like finally I had a tool that could help them as well. And it was about getting gentler and gentler and more sensitive and finely tuned. And the very first horse I worked with was a horse called Safe House, and he had been pretty traumatized. He was rearing with people, wanting to get them off his back. And the lady who had bought him begged me to take him because she couldn't sell him on. And he was the most amazing case study because he showed me in one session what I believed was possible. And I started to do what I imagined would be a fascial treatment on a horse, the way I had been doing it with people in a more gentle way. And he started to tremor. He just tremored and tremored and tremored, quite violently, actually. And it was so clear for me. And then the second treatment I did a week later, much less response. And the third treatment, he just had little fasciculations on his back, pretty normal, nothing to write home about. And that horse, we could ride him from that third session. We rode him in a halter. Anyone in my family rode him. I put my kids on him. And he was a thoroughbred. He'd been a racehorse. He was so calm.
That's incredible.
I know. And that made me realize that all the stuff I'd been learning over the years just kind of slotted in. The polyvagal theory and understanding how trauma sits in the brain and how the brain and body communicate, and how through somatic work we can trick the brain and convince the brain and change the neurology really into feeling safety again. And we've been able to do this with thousands of horses since then. Yeah. And people, of course, bless us. But yeah, so that was my focus then, really, for a very long time. It completely changed to, okay, guys, now we can really work with the trauma. We can teach the brain via the body that everything's going to be okay, and that they can really start to, heal the very thing that's been so hypervigilant, which is the brain. Yeah. It's stuck in its trauma loops.
I think, that there's so much I want to ask about this. It sounds fascinating. I think for people who are listening that don't have any knowledge in kind of trauma, and a lot of people, I think, don't really get the connection between the physical and the emotional, and how it's held within the nervous system. And I appreciate it's a big a big topic, but could you kind of give people a sense of what that's about?
Sure. So the fascial system, which is obviously the stuff that covers us under our skin. So if you peel our skin off, we've got our fascia, the superficial fascia, the first layer. For the horses, that's the cutaneous muscles. The fly twitch muscles are enmeshed within that superficial layer. So it's highly sensitive. Can I just please point that out? And then from there, we've got the fascia that surrounds your muscles and your bones, your brain, your spinal cord. Okay, so it's a big system, and it's made of fluid and fiber. And it has something called the ground substance, which is the watery, I call it the magic water. It's like a clear water that every cell in the body lies within. And it's where cells proliferate and where cells differentiate. And really, it's like the ground work, the ground base. And this is also a place of inflammation. It's the place of our immune system. It's the place of when there are hormonal changes, or the body detects any kind of noxious substances or it needs to fight some virus. It all happens within the ground substance. Now, the ground substance, magic water, fluid, and fiber is your fascial system. So sometimes it's the fascia of your organs, sometimes it's the fascia of your big toe, sometimes it's the fascia of your back muscles. Sometimes it's the fascia of your core muscles, your psoas. So, you know, when we are in a state of emotional pain, the brain doesn't differentiate between emotional pain and physical pain because it's sensing danger. And if we're thinking now, we've got fascial system, we've got this magical water, and we've got the neural system within it as well. Everything starts to pull together when we're in emotional pain. So we have a complete contraction in the body and a holding pattern. Now this is the very basic idea, because it's very fun when we start to actually unpack that, because there really is, we call it the onion layers, right? But if we're going to the very core of it, in the core, we have got quite specific stuff there. We've got this ground substance, we've got the fibers of the fascial system, and we've got the psoas muscle, which is what's all contracting and pulling and creating inflammation and pain on a very neural level when we talk about free nerve endings. So if I'm in emotional pain or I'm in emotional stress, we call it emotional, but I mean it's mental emotional, right? So if we're stressed in our daily lives, let's not even talk about trauma. Let's just talk about the daily stress. We are constantly creating a feedback loop from our brain, which is worrying and thinking about all the things that it has to do and can't do and hasn't done, and oh my goodness, and you know, the usual thing. This is perpetuating a state in the body of sympathetic response, which means we are activated to run from a lion. So we're either going to fight or we're going to run away from a lion, because that's what our stress and our worries are telling us. Where's the money going to come from? Worrying about our kids. Da, da, da. A sympathetic response has a very clear activation in the body. So your fascia actually contracts, for example, in your calf muscles, and it gets ready to run or fight. And we have a whole nother response in the body around your heart and lungs. They're all getting faster and they're getting ready to expand and get ready for action. Plus, we have a whole lot of hormones. We've got adrenaline, noradrenaline, ephedrine, everything's just pumping through the system. So now we've got, on various levels, a whole lot of stress sitting in the body, which in turn is affecting the body. It's affecting your fascial system. It's creating changes even in your blood. And now we just continue this loop of I'm stressing and now my body is responding. And so the fascial system starts to pull tighter and tighter, and we start to have chronic pain and stiffness. Within 48 hours of a traumatic emotional event, we can see fascial stiffness setting in. So within 48 hours, we can literally feel that in our body, and it comes with pain. So now we have shoulder pain, back pain, hip pain, knee pain. And we're kind of thinking it's separate from our emotional pain, but it's not. It's linked to that. So add to our normal daily stress, emotional pain and trauma and mental health. And you cannot separate it from the body, because your autonomic nervous system and your vagus nerve are driving this together with your fascial system, together with your free nerve endings. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And that principle about your brain not recognizing the difference between physical and emotional pain, I think that's such a key concept that I think lots of us miss. I mean, it's only, I think, you know, for me, the big turning point was I started reading some books. And then I was at the time messaging Ross going, oh my God, this stuff's amazing. And some of the Gabor Mate stuff. And that, you know, that for me massively opened my eyes and changed my whole perception of these things. But I think, until you kind of suddenly flick that switch and think, oh my goodness, this is how this is how it is all connected. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And if we can't run and um, flee, we can't flee and we can't fight,
Mm,
we have to dissociate. And it's in the dissociation, in that freeze state, where we prepare to die, actually. And we see that in the horses and learned helplessness and shutdown. Since everything we experience in our autonomic nervous system and in our bodies, they are experiencing, because mammals are the same. There's zero difference from fascial. Well, there's a few differences fascially, but very slight. From a fascial nervous system perspective, we're the same. And so anything that we're going through, we got to realize they're going through.
mm,
And so if we can't run and we can't fight, we have to dissociate. And that's that shutdown stage. And that's where PTSD happens. If we're still able to flee or fight, PTSD won't really step in, because we're still actioning. It's in the being unable to action. It's at that point where trauma is stored in the brain, and the brain stores that as a traumatic event, and it tries to just pack it away somewhere so you never have to look at it again.
mm,
And it's so fascinating when we're working with scar tissues in particular, where we can see how very working with it very intentfully, sometimes not even touching, we get massive emotional release, and you can actually see how the brain, where it's blocked that part of the body, or that sometimes a whole limb, it's
mm.
switched it off because of the trauma associated with the scar. Now you work with the scar and you actually can see how the brain tries to reframe it, and through touch we're reframing it in a very, very safe way. And so that's what touch does. That's why it's so powerful, because it's bringing back, obviously a scar is an obvious thing, but there's so much that's not obvious, where there's just parts of us that have been shut off because at times of dissociation, and I mean for humans a lot of operations, the brain had to just step away and leave the room. And that's when stuff got stored. And that's why childhood trauma is such a big problem, because an immature child brain couldn't, the limbic system holds the memory, but not often in a very clear way. And also, the childhood trauma problem is that children generally cannot run and cannot fight. You just have to freeze.
Mm.
And that brings, so if that's human, if that's the human reality, what is the reality for so many folds?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've gone so far back with birth trauma. I mean, Ross knows this in the last workshop. We go into birth trauma for pretty much everybody, because mares, oftentimes brood mares, are in some kind of, they're not performing anymore. Something's wrong. Now they can't tell you they're in pain. So they're often not okay. And then they're carrying an extra weight. And then, the foal is holding already mother's heightened state of pain, which will be a contracture of some kind. It's hormonal. So it's transferred. It's interesting.
Because I think it was one of those things that you said on your workshop, which it's such an obvious thing with breeding, because the epigenetic studies
Mm-hmm,
about trauma being passed down through the DNA. And that's, it's so it's so obvious that sometimes it seems like it goes very much unnoticed and even not even spoken about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, I mean, and also we were talking about foals breaking ribs when they're born and no one even knows about it. And it's like, what? There's no way nature intended that. That was never, that's not normal.
No.
It's just they're bigger. Uh, they're too hyper. I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird. When you read statistics now of like broken ribs and falls, and you think, what is going on?
Really? I didn't even know that was a
It's
thing.
it's
So
such a high percentage, isn't it?
it's
Wow.
strange. What's gone wrong? Something's gone wrong. Something's gone horribly wrong. I'm not saying that's from a trauma thing. I'm just saying it's just another thing to
Yeah.
add to the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
That the body's then got to contend with.
And having had a broken rib myself, it's very painful.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
in a baby,
painful.
bones are still soft.
Yeah.
So even that whole, I mean, I can only assume it's from feed, that the mother's getting too much protein. This is also not my field of expertise, but from people who are in the know who have spoken to me, we have also the falls with where their legs, there's like splint because there's too much protein in the mother's milk, and it's
Yeah.
out of the right idea. That's what's terrible, is that there's so much misinformation in the world right now. There's so much information and so much misinformation.
Mm.
And I think people are just scurrying around trying to do the best they can for their horses. And that's oftentimes where something like this, yeah, becomes the very opposite of helpful. Yeah.
It's quite interesting because I think I'm just as I'm listening to you speak, I'm just reflecting on how my own practice has the direction that's taken over the past couple of years, and I've been a lot more sort of mind boggy, can't get my words out today, mind and body focused in the sense that I'm seeing so much, especially working on a fascial level and how that interlinks with the nervous system, how behavioral changes are are created in a way which doesn't involve direct training. And I'm not saying obviously that is the case all the time, but it's a massive, massive step to help that horse
Mm-hmm.
work through whatever may be going on within their body to then make their mind more available to what it is that you may be trying to present them with, and that might take their education a little bit more forward.
100%. It's like I was actually speaking to someone yesterday about this. I mean, it's common knowledge now in neuro physiology that if a child is stressed, it cannot retain any information. None of us can, but
Mm.
like from a schooling perspective, if your child is under stress, and like, I mean, here in South Africa, the things you're going to be asking is, has it even had breakfast? Like, has it, like, what is it? What is the hierarchy of priority? Has that child had some food? Is it warm? Is it stressed? Like, what's going on a very basic level? Can it focus on what you're trying to input on it? And then on top of that, just a normal school perspective where we've got threat from other kids or teachers. And the fact that any of us retained any information is a miracle, actually. Half the time. If we
Mm.
think like our social, now we've got social media, so that's even worse. But you cannot learn a single thing if you are not calm, if you're not in a parasympathetic state. If you are in pain, you're not okay because that's your focus, or you're going to have to shut off. The great thing about dissociation is that it numbs you. So it's bonus.
Yes.
But you cannot you cannot learn in that state. You need to be calm and open, and your digestive system needs to be working, and then that heart-brain connection that is your autonomic nervous system that is so powerful, is that feeling of safety. And then you are releasing oxytocin. So then you have this connection with the horse, and the horse is able to have that connection with you and is able to learn. You can't learn if you're in pain or if you're stressed and scared. And what blows me away is there's so much now about this for the humans, but it's like, guys, it's the same nervous system.
Mm.
So if you pick up a stick and you beat the horse and then you're trying to teach it to do something,
Mm.
learning fear responses, sure. Just like a child would if you help make it hold out its hand and hit it with a stick. Of course, it's going to learn on some level, but it's not the learning that you want through connection.
No. And it's really interesting when you have these kinds of conversations. And if we're talking about people, for example, how many times people may effectively brace up when you say, okay, you need to be a lot more mindful about how you approach. I don't want to use the word discipline, but we'll use that just, for sake's sake. Instead of hitting, approaching it in a different way. And a lot of people seem quite rebuffed by that. It's like they can't get their head around the fact that there's another way. So even though the evidence and the changes are there, there's again that social cultural conditioning aspect of, well, no, this is what works and this is how we have done it. And that seems quite a struggle from a person to person aspect. So like we all know, then trying to create a change within our own behavior towards horses becomes that little bit more challenging. Do you find similar?
Well, yeah, of course it is, because the time in the world where we are right now is with all this new information. Like we said, there's disinformation, but then there's also a lot of great information out there. And I think we're going to find those that are willing to find a new way. It does require time, it does require patience, and it does require a whole lot of self work. And you can't blame people for shying away from that, because it's like it's about capacity. That's what I see. I see that we are all, not we are all, I see there is this shift. We just have to make it more user friendly, because people are tired and stressed, and their own nervous systems are not okay. And their horses are their everything oftentimes, and their horses are their refuge. And that time with their horse is their like sacred time. But what we're seeing is the horses themselves are not being heard. I don't know what the answer is, other than awareness and awareness training around the fact that your energy, when you take your energy and your stress and your whatever it is to your horse, it's going to be feeling unsafe.
Hmm.
They will always try to co-regulate. But the truth is, if I'm coming there with really crappy energy and all the stress of my day, and I'm going to come to my stable and I'm going to, tack up my horse and get on it and ride it, and then I'll feel better. But which is great. But if you can start thinking of your horse as like your dog, um, how would your dog feel?
Hmm.
I mean,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. My one of my dogs recently, he's to the outside world, he's a big, shouty, big personality, but he's actually very sensitive. And I had a car accident recently, and I was, I was injured. I wasn't as badly injured as I could have been, but I wasn't right for a couple of weeks, and it really upset him.
Mm.
Um, it was interesting. We're both fine again now, but it really upset him.
Yeah.
Um, I think, for me, I think there's a whole other layer to this as well. I think what we bring, as you say, that kind of emotional state that we bring to the horse is huge. But I think that's massively compounded by the way the horse spends the rest of its day.
100%.
And I think so. Um, Taking it right back to something that you said really early on when you were talking about when you first worked with that lovely horse and you got all that kind of tremoring coming out. Um, it's not something I know a huge amount about, but I remember again a couple of years ago reading one of Peter Levine's books where he talked about herd animals and that, they go through a traumatic event with a lion coming after them or so on and they run. And then if you watch them once they stand, you can actually see this tremor run through the body. And that really, I don't know if you remember, Ross, but this is another situation where I sent you a great long voice note going, I've just listened to this profound thing. But it got me thinking, like, so many of our horses have no autonomy and, have no opportunity to be in a herd. And, potentially we turn up on the yard, the horse has been stuck in and kind of isolated from being able to have face-to-face contact and being able to move and all that free movement and free choice throughout the day. We come and we bring that energy from our stressful day in the office. We bring the horse out, we ride the horse, but we're riding it so that it hasn't got free movement with its body. It's having to move in the way that we're controlling. And then we put it back in the stable. Like when does it never gets that opportunity to let that out and to release it. Whereas if we're looking at this thing holistically and think, well, okay, even if you're focusing on making sure that you're coming with that kind of positive energy and positive mindset, if we're ignoring the whole environmental factor, the situation's no better. And I think that's such a massive thing. And it's something that we as a horse community, there are definitely places that are making a big difference. But I think, if we could just change the environment that horses are in and give them that autonomy and that free movement and the ability to problem solve and make their own choices and be with their own kind and groom and just all these kind of things that are basic for a horse, a lot of these other issues that we see wouldn't be there.
I agree. And get a fright and run away.
Yeah.
And the herd can be just two. It's okay. It's like, of course, in our perfect world, they would be in big herds, but just two or three is
Mm.
fine. But if they have that space where they can also every now and then, you know, do adopt and get all excited and run away and then survive that, and that's good.
Mm.
That's good. I was listening to just a short reel from Zach Bush and the other day, and it was exactly this, which makes so much sense. He was talking about the biology of the bones, and the fascial system is no different, where the body's going to add new cells here and take cells away there, and bones need a bit of friction in order to have so the osteoclasts can take away and the osteoblasts can lay more bone, and that's literally happening all the time on
Mm.
every level with everything that's being remodeled. Our bodies are being constantly remodeled. And he was saying we need that friction for growth. And through all the best intentions, our horses aren't cold and they aren't outside and they aren't experiencing nature and the natural world.
Mm.
And a little bit of hardship. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about putting them out in the ice and snow and,
Yeah.
within
Yes.
reason, and
Yes.
just
Being
like,
sensible. Yeah.
put a blanket on them in freezing conditions. I'm not saying don't, but it's like that over mollycoddling that we do. They're not getting an experience of reality. And that's society as a whole. It's like the houses are warm or the houses are cool.
Mm.
Everything is acclimatized. We are not getting hot and cold, and we're not walking up mountains unless we are or hunting our food, all this kind of thing, which was really good for emotional health and emotional growth, because we learned through resilience that if I had to do such and such, like kill my own food, for example, I learned that I could do it, that I'm capable. And I think generationally, what we're seeing is we're less and less capable. We're becoming more and more dependent. And that's, we've done that to our animals or to our horses, most definitely. It's like they've become so dependent on us, because literally they'll just starve to death if not someone arrives with a bucket of food. And so there's no, the whole nervous system isn't natural anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we as a species have moved so far away from our own kind of true nature. And I think if we can't understand our own true nature, how can we possibly understand and provide that for another species?
Exactly.
And I
So
think
that's why
people
I
have a big,
started that other course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
people have quite a big misconception about what flexibility within the nervous system actually entails. Your horse needs to be able to, well, your horse, nervous systems, they need to be able to float in and out of each state without getting stuck there.
100%.
So I think, being stuck in sympathetic is just as bad as being stuck in parasympathetic. It's not healthy. It's like, not wanting to pick at a thread of posture, but being in a fixed posture,
Mm.
you know, allow the horse to explore their entire range of movement and of motion, not just a limited, because that obviously in itself is going to affect the fascia. That's going to affect everything that comes before. So there's a whole there's a whole thread that I'm probably not going to pick up that one today.
Well, I mean, we have a cool example. It happens every time. I put people in a onesie, and then I pull it tight in the front. And the person has to, they're just standing upright, and then we pull on the onesie, and then they kind of end up in this posture. And I just keep them there for a bit, which is really mean, but just to feel it. And I think if everyone could just have that experience for themselves, it's really interesting, because what starts to happen is they feel depressed.
Interesting.
Yes, yes, I know. Yes,
And that's just posture.
because
That's
you're
really
effectively
interesting.
you're closing down the ventral. Yes.
That's fascinating.
Get in a onesie and
Yeah.
I've got one somewhere.
get some. I know I've got a horse one I use for all the equine workshops. So you literally just pull it tight at the navel, or just below, and that if someone's in that posture, because everything's pulling on your neck and your head, and you're just like frozen in that state, it's a horrible feeling. I have to always, when I release it, my onesie model, whoever it was in the room, we have to kind of like shake them out a bit, because they don't feel so good.
So if anyone at home is listening to this and decides to try that, please let us know how you find it. Just don't leave yourself there too long.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's very interesting. It's a lot of fun with a onesie. Mm.
Definitely, definitely. Amy's got actually quite a nice, is it a boiler suit onesie that I saw her in the other day when we was man trailing?
Yeah, I don't think it would quite do the job. It's my waterproof one. So I think you'd need a softer fabric.
Try it, see what happens.
I think,
So,
there's so many factors, unfortunately, with horses, but I really believe, like I say, the capacity that we humans are at the moment, it's just a lot all round. There's got to be ways of just keeping it simple. Finding simple, creative solutions to, I mean, already how cool are track systems?
Mm,
Keeping them outdoors, track systems. I mean, that's already massive. There's so many things, simple things. It takes a bit of effort in the beginning, sure, like everything. But then, I think we
yeah,
need to find solutions that are simple. And
yeah.
and what I would love to see is humans connecting more with their horses, not so much in terms of let me just jump on and ride you because I have to and want to, but how can I have that incredible sentient relationship, like understanding the sentience that you're actually standing there with an elephant. If an elephant was stood there and you had your hand on its heart, you would be blown away a million times. But you
Mm,
have that with your horse. You don't need to come here and stand with an elephant. Like that, we can have that profound respect. I mean, they do genuinely want to help us. They do genuinely want to be there for us. So there is that element as well. That's why they do go above and beyond, and they do often love the sports they're in. You know, it's but how can we have the dog? I'm just going to bring it back to the dog relationship with our horse. Take it for a walk, like cuddle it, stroke it. Yeah, like this need for us to always ride. I'm not saying riding's wrong. I'm just saying, can we not just also just hang with them? Just be with them, breathe with them.
mm.
explore the full dynamic of what you can have with your horse.
In our
Yeah.
country, we don't even groom the horses ourselves. Everyone has a groom. So there's even that connection missing.
Hmm. From a cultural perspective, so Lisa, you're based over in South Africa, and you've 2 weeks ago, was it about 2.5 weeks ago that you got back from your workshops in the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many times have you been over to the UK so far? Because I know you've been all over Europe, and obviously, like you said earlier, you've been to America.
I think 5 times for teaching. Yeah.
So just sort of maybe a comparison between the UK and South Africa. What sort of contrast do you find between, the either the human horse connection in both countries or what you find from a sort of a practicing level when you treat? Is there similarities? Is there quite stark differences? Because I'm quite interested because obviously the husbandry, the management, the environment is completely different.
Mm.
Well, you would think so, but it's not.
Okay.
Ah, interesting.
So it is, and that's been fascinating for me because whether it's also, I mean, Europe, obviously the Scandinavian countries, it's really cold. But they sometimes or oftentimes have a very grounded approach to horses and keeping horses. Um, but what I have found, like I can't say worldwide, but just to the places that I've been, is in the sports department, it's the same. Even in our, we have all this sunshine and all most of the time, especially in like Natal, um, we don't have our horses knee deep in mud, um, you know, or we shouldn't, because we don't have weeks and weeks of rain.
Mm.
And the sport horse community, especially the top level, they can maybe be out grazing 2 hours, 3 hours, some of them in a tiny little paddock,
Mm.
separated, because obviously they worry about them getting injured, or yeah, which is understandable, again, because you've paid a few million for that horse, and the nature of what your horse is there for is very different to. Then you've got the natural horsemanship sort of, or people, let me not say the natural horsemanship crowd, but the people who are wanting to do it more natural. So yes, we've got the track systems, we've got horses in big herds and big fields. So that's really interesting. It's been the same. It just depends on the philosophy of the person who owns the horse. It's worldwide. Well, it's the same. I would have, you would think it'd be completely different country to country, but it's not. The ones who want more natural have more natural. Here, Sweden, England, Germany.
Oh, that's very interesting.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like it hasn't. I mean, I can't talk, and here we're obviously not talking about rural um, perspective, right?
Mm.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game. Yeah, no,
Can I
like
ask what the rural perspective is like?
well, the SPCA here does a huge outreach. They're actually amazing. They trying to teach the local people how, like a wire in the mouth is not a great idea. And so people donate a lot of tack to the SPCA, like a lot of tack that they don't want. And they go into the rural areas and they teach the people that, this is a bit. And yeah, it's so funny how it's like first world problems when we think. I mean, and I'm all for it, bitting and everything, but on this side of the spectrum, a bit is better than the piece of wire or the
Yeah.
rope.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like spectrum wise,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and broken saddles, and mm, yeah, it's rough. So I mean, and those horses obviously they live out a lot of the time. Some are cart horses, like it depends where in South Africa. Some are used for transport still, and they land up in car accidents, all sorts of things. But there are communities that, as I said, they are private and the SPCA, for example, that do a lot of good work, um, trying to educate.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
but you do see some horrific things. You do. Better not
Yeah.
to. And if anyone wants to ever support, there's like there are people doing amazing stuff, just trying to teach and say this or that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It all comes down to the education, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I think South Africa has got slight more accessibility for equipment. Would I be right in saying that than maybe some other African countries in terms
Oh,
of,
definitely.
being able to get hold of, you know, well-made bridles, a well-made saddle, and actually the transport from ordering to actually getting to destination actually happens.
Yes, and also horse transport, it's quite interesting. I mean, through like mid Africa and the rest of southern Africa, horses are not a thing. It starts coming up more in the sort of desert countries again. Um, oh, Ross is frozen. Yeah, it's not. Horses are not culturally such a big thing. But here,
Hmm.
the Basotho people, they very have a strong horse culture. They have these gorgeous Basotho ponies, and they just go on forever and ever. They're really, really hardy. And I would imagine they're a bit like the Mongolian ponies. I haven't met a Mongolian one, but it's a similar vibe, if I can put it that
Mm.
way. Um, but through the rest of South Africa, although the horse thing isn't huge. Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
it's yeah, it's not culturally a connection as such.
Yeah.
Donkeys,
Hmm.
donkeys more, and cattle,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
goats. Mm.
I've always, from what I've sort of seen when I've been over and read, donkeys are more widespread. But it's interesting because when we kind of, and it will be completely different from, place to place, country to country. It's very different how we have that perception of, oh, horses must be a thing over there. Oh, they're not a thing, but they're such a thing where we are.
Yeah, it's weird, hey? And it's just yeah. I mean, obviously the colonialists brought with them their horsemanship.
Yes.
That, right? So, mm. And that's why I think it's so similar still because, we've got English riding, German style riding. That's all come with Dutch style. Like, I mean, in our country, we have English, Dutch, German, um, whatever. We're a big mixed pot of horsey
Mm.
backgrounds
Hmm.
ancestrally, and obviously that's those strong traditions have continued. Mm.
Yeah. So, as you went on to found and develop the equine fascia and trauma release side of your work, how did that come about? So you've already mentioned how you started, going from the human side and finding, something that you felt comfortable applying to horses. So how did that progress to you to that founding point back in 2017?
So I did this and on my horse, obviously, and then I thought, damn, this is so good. And I'd had some crazy, amazing results with humans already, which that always has been my confidence factor. Experiment on the humans first, and then take it to the
Mm.
horse. That's my idea. So, and also from a fascial science perspective, you can do dissections and you can study and whatever. Everything's been experimented on animals first. So it's like they did it on the mouse or the rat and then they did it on the human. So, it is all animal study anyway. Um, and so I was having incredible results with the people, and that was obviously starting to fascinate me and want me to bring it to the horse. And then that whole thing happened with Safe House. And I was so excited. And around that same time, a very good friend of mine, she breeds racehorses, and she actually was a teacher of mine at school. Um, and I remember she was pregnant and had a fell with the accident, fell with her horse, and didn't come back to school. And I loved her. She was so different. She was such a wise person even then. And it was so amazing because I met her again all these years later, like 20 years later. I met her again she was making her own horse feed, very low protein, very healthy for her racehorses and for her broodmares and everything. I mean, this woman is Lola Crawford. I'm just going to name you. This woman is incredible. She has her daughters, Taryn and Haley. And so the daughters do the train them in racing, and Lola is now in the breeding section, but she knows so much. She's incredible. And I met her because I had a young horse that had suspected a broken pelvis and suspensory check ligament operations, and he was a mess, and someone just dumped him with me as well, covered in ticks and half dead. And I thought, well, he'll be a great case study. So I started to get case studies at home. And a young racehorse with a big scar on his foot that I met through Lola and them, he came to the farm. And so I started accumulating some case studies and experimenting with the technique and seeing how I could help them. And she was helping me with the food. And then the girls wanted to learn. And then eventually I was at their racing yard, and we had like a stable of 20 horses to play with, which is what we did. So started using the technique and playing and seeing how it would change things. And she was blown away. And she said to me, "You have to teach this." And I said, "Oh, I'm not ready." She said, "You are going to teach this because everyone in the world needs to know how to do this." Okay. So that's how it started. Yeah. And she's like a wise witch on many levels. I mean, she doesn't even use vets when she's checking she has an ultrasound machine. She does all of,
Amazing.
natural births, all her horses. And they, if the horses, when they're racing, need shoes, they have them. And if they don't, they don't. And they get massaged constantly. They do all beautiful natural things with their horses. And yes, so they're still in a profession, a racing profession, but they've brought such honor. It's in the old ways, when it was an honorable sport. Sure, it's gambling, but it's like there's this level of integrity. And they know their babies so well. If one of them isn't into racing, then it doesn't go to racing. And they feel it, very intuitive. Yeah, special. So it's because of them that it actually became taught formally. And it's grown. I mean, it used to be 2 days of just hands-on. And yeah, and then it's just grown into more and more theory and hands-on combined. Yeah.
I mean, I attended your workshop 2.5 weeks ago, and I really, really loved the combination of what and how you were able to present everything. And I think a really unique way that you were able to get everyone to really relate to how the horses would perceive the techniques was by doing it on the people.
It's so simple then. If you can feel
Yeah.
it in your own body, and if you can feel better in your own body, that's it. You don't need more. I don't even need to teach theory actually in real life. You could just actually just get your hands on the people, and when the people start feeling better, they know they can do it for their horses. And it's not
I
complicated.
think it is quite difficult initially for a lot of people who first train in human bodywork, like you were saying about Swedish and sports. It is, generally taught with a lot more vigor, a lot deeper, and going into a treatment with a horse with that approach, their body's just going to kick you out straight away.
Kick you out, or very sadly will stand there and take it. And that's almost,
Yes.
I prefer them to kick us out and say, that's so. But that's if they're not just completely dissociated.
Yeah.
and how well are the humans able to read the room. So, and it's a problem because what the horse doesn't have that the human has is still that belief that it has to, in order to be good, it has to hurt. In order to work, it has to hurt. Now, that's a human perspective. We can lie there and take it because our brain is going to override the pain and say, this is good for me. I'm just going to lie here and take it.
Yeah.
The horse's brain is not going to tell it the same thing. It's literally going to have to dissociate to escape the pain, or it's going to have to kick you out. And I'm not saying we don't have to work deeply, because my firm belief is when a horse wants pressure, oh my goodness, it's going to push into you, and you're going to have to be a very strong tree. You know, when they want
Be a tree.
be a tree. When they want that pressure, they're going to come in and demand it. But that's now it's a dance. Now it's not me lording or powering over you, forcing you to take what I believe you need.
Yeah, it's really interesting because just last night I treated one of my friends, and she's a fantastic sports physio, but she jumped ship and trained to be a teacher about 6 years ago. So she doesn't kind of really treat anymore, but she comes to me when her body's in a mess, effectively. And she has quite a lot of issues with her right shoulder. And I tried the first rib technique that we went over. And I basically said, I'm just going to do some work on your front. I'm going to do this on your first rib, but I'm going to leave your back because of the lengthening and shortening aspect.
And
And she she was like, okay, yeah, we'll go with it. We'll do it. And I said, I'm waiting for your body to communicate with me. And she went, because I did some work on her psoas as well. And she went, my body's not going to communicate with you. And I was like, oh, these are different ways of working now.
Times have
Um,
changed.
yes, but when I when I did that work on her first rib, shoulder positioning, pain gone pretty much within, after the melt, and message this morning saying that she's like, "What did you do?" I'm like, just a little stuff, just
a
a little
little,
stuff.
just a little thing on the
Little.
side.
So it's still that, that ingrained aspect. I mean, I'm guilty myself. I will very much, if I go for a sports massage, I do quite enjoy pressure. But some of the treatments that I've had previously, the times when I've probably felt the worst and my body is going through a massive detox process is when it feels like someone hasn't done anything at all.
Yeah. And I mean, I promise you, the technique that we do, and I mean, people feel this all the time. You feel everything. It's not like a tickle tinkle. It's just being so mindful
Mm.
and teaching. I mean, this was at the Fascia Congress. It was such an interesting. We had about an hour with Gil Headley mediating. He's one of my favorite anatomists. He's an amazing guy. And he was inviting people to come up to the mic, and it was all body workers, to come up to the mic, and he posed the question of hard or soft in relation to fascia work. And I would say everyone pretty much said it's so hard because the people lying there are so dissociated a lot of the time they can't even give us feedback. Am I hurting you? And I can ask you 100 times, am I hurting you? you may not even, and the more dissociated I am, the more I need pressure I need, because the less I can feel. And it's so interesting because it's a fascial congress, but this whole mental, emotional, this whole thing came up massively. It's like, okay, only when you are no longer dissociated and you are fully in touch and you can feel again, can you then even decide decide what you like. Maybe some days you want something that's very, you see, fascia release is completely neural. If I have a sports massage with oil and stuff, it's going to be different. I'm going to feel more muscle achy, but it's not like a fascia treatment where it's neural. It's like your hands have slipped into the neural system. So if you go in hard and fast and rough, and there's people teaching this all over the world, hard and rough and quick, and you're in a very different space. That neural interface that you're in, you've got to be mindful. You cannot just go in there. So it is like a sports massagey thing. Is a bit different because it's more muscular, and yeah, with fascial work comes great responsibility, and I'm not always impressed with what I see worldwide. When I say that, I mean even just techniques that are taught by people who are really, big educators in this field, who are not taking the trauma aspect into account. Because when you touch that neural interface, you are speaking to the brain.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you've
And
got to
I also,
be very respectful.
I think people have such a misconception about trauma in itself and how it occurs and actually how it will stick within your body.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And going back to the conversation we were having earlier about, our ability to dissociate because of what's happened to us, from birth, and then that stacking and layering effect that we've had going forwards, we become so effectively numb to it that horses are traumatized every single day through applications and ways which we don't actually realize it is causing trauma, not just worry or anxiety, and actual trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have
And it's
therapists. I mean, because it's a vets, not blaming vets here. I'm just saying that they don't always know who's coming into the stable.
Mm.
yeah,
And they possibly had touch trauma before. We had a horse on this last workshop in England who has had a lot of trauma through negligent touch therapy touch. That was very, very painful. So yeah, there you almost have to start off body, and I mean that horse responded best to singing, really.
yeah,
No, not only. I mean, he is luckily in a very, very, very happy home now with a very wonderful therapist. And the work that she's done has been incredible. But he trusts her. He didn't trust us. We
yes,
know her. He doesn't know us. We could have been that person again, or those people again that did bad things. So you've got to be so mindful.
Mm.
it's always really beautiful when a horse chooses someone that they know can help.
Beautiful.
They're just like, yeah, you.
Mm.
They do have that sense. They seek
Yeah.
safety too, just like we do.
Yeah. And, a horse's first language is energy.
That's
So
why it comes back to the humans. I mean, if we can just, and when I say manage our energy, I'm not talking about like, let's always just be these, you know, fully perfect, present, zen, you know, people. That's a nice aspect, but it's not everything. Am I in my own self-trust? Am I in my own power? That's important for a horse. That's important for a horse to feel that you've got yourself. I got you. I got me. I got me, so I've got you. Doesn't mean I got to be a Buddhist monk. Doesn't mean I have to be meditating every time I walk into the stable. It's not about that. It's about being strong in yourself, that and confident in yourself. Then the animals feel safe because you're safe. If you've been able to create that safety for yourself, the rest is easy. It always comes back to self. And that's why, yeah, I'm more and more determined to work with the humans again. That's why I've developed that human algorithm course. Yeah, I want people to learn about themselves more.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a friend of mine over here who she started out as a vet, um, but found that she wasn't resonating with the kind of symptom management and wanted to do something that was more sort of helping horses with root cause. And so she's since then trained as a chiropractor and an acupuncturist. And she's an amazing therapist. She's wonderful. But she said she was finding that she was treating and helping the horse, but then the horse was representing with the same issues, and that she was looking at the horse and she was looking at the human and thinking this is just a pure reflection of what's coming from the human. So she then went on to trying to do life coaching to help the human aspect of the relationship. And yeah, I just think that that's so interesting. And it sort of feels like it mirrors what you're saying there.
I really think, I mean, these workshops of mine are constantly morphing, as I morph, right? I mean, that's just how it is. And I really think next year, and it's been an interesting question because a lot of horse people and a lot of horse therapists will tell you straight, I don't want to touch a human. Don't bring me the humans. I don't want to touch a human. And that resistance, it's like, oh, I got into horses because I hate humans. Well, the question I want to ask the people then is, what do you hate about yourself? Because that's really what it's about. And if we can touch other humans or feel touch ourselves, we will be such better equine therapists. So I do want to challenge. So as a business model, it's probably a terrible idea. But I want to. I'm hatching a lot of plans. Well, put it this way, I'm going to give people the option to do both. But from my perspective, I would like to teach that equine therapists come and we learn the human stuff. They learn the human stuff over like 3 or 4 days. And then the equine stuff. Like module 1 at the moment is only equine. Module 2 we bring in, because it's more subtle, we work with the humans and the horses. But that module 1 has that aspect as well, where you're learning human touch with each other first. Fascia release, legs, arms, because you really understand how it feels. And it's, the fascia is locked and trapped in places we don't even think. I mean, the lower legs are often so yuck on us humans, and therefore we can only assume on the animals because of that sympathetic activation. The fascia just, there's many reasons for it. That's just one of them. But yeah, it's I think like just being able to feel, it's not a place that often gets treated. Most of us go and have quick back and neck or whatever. Not how much focus is given to the arms, how much focus is given to the ribs, how much focus is given to the legs, and all the different places in our bodies that we don't even remember how they feel because we've lost touch. So it's, yeah, I think that's where I'm heading. I've got the human algorithm, which is very, like, that's if you really want to work on your shit. That's that one.
Let's hear more about that because this really, really intrigues me.
That is very cool. I'm having a lot of fun. It's the first online. Is just we're into week 3 now, and it's been really good. So its roots are in ancient shamanic tradition of North America. So it's based on the teachings of essentially white buffalo calf women who came to the people hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, long before the white people came. And the tribes of North America all had this knowledge. And then there was a group of shamans who, they don't even know. The oldest school was the Rattlesnake School of Medicine in Mexico. The twisted hair people, so that's the tradition that I'm learning with. They were shamans that would travel from tribe to tribe and bring the knowledge. That was essentially the knowledge of white buffalo calf women. So it's a beautiful, very old history of, or branch, should I say, of shamanism. And my teacher, who's actually from Canada, he took the astrology of this tradition and turned it into African animals. So you also have a whole animal astrology that in the north would be bear and buffalo and, bison, I would think, wolf, whatever, beaver. And he took those and he created a whole system of his own with African animals. And yeah, it's been amazing. So it's really melding the teachings together of African animal wheel astrology and then the twisted hair medicine wheel teachings. But what it's about really at the end of the day is facing yourself and your victim. And for me, it's about, okay, sure, we've, on the basic level, we've understand there's trauma and everything, but now the focus being no longer on the trauma, but on the post-traumatic growth. So how do you step out of our codependency into our self-empowerment on many levels? So I think there will be many modules of that because I would like to walk people through not just the teachings of the twisted hairs, but bringing in self-help fascial tools as well. Like how do I work on my own scars and, like quite practical stuff. So it's evolving as we go. But that's very much on the level of, okay, I want to face myself. I want to heal myself. Like, how can I? And it's called the human algorithm because literally there's a formula. Like the ancient people just knew. And then they were like, okay, well, you're this and this is what you do and this is how you do it. And then there's layers and layers stacked upon. Ross has had a bit of an intro into it already, but this is just more layers to that, of just how we do life and how we could do it differently. But there's a formula, and it's in these ancient teachings. So it's crazy. It's very cool.
That is, yeah.
I'm just having so much fun because I just think the more we can be guided through self-help and self-empowerment, the better we can be for not just our animals, for our fellow humans and
Yeah.
each other.
It's coming from the right place. I mean, you can hear how much you love this just by hearing you speak about it.
Yeah.
That obviously comes through, and more of that is needed in the world.
Yeah, I think one human at a time, guys. Like I was very much on the trajectory of one horse at a time and like helping all the horses in the world, and we can do this. And it's still my ultimate vision, of course, but it's not just about the horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the horses, I firmly believe, want the humans to come right. I mean, that's really what they're asking for. Like, guys, please help yourselves already. We're so done with you. That's the message from them.
What are I know I'm keeping an eye on time for you, but I have to ask the question now. What are your thoughts on soul contracts?
I am a big believer. It's the only thing that makes sense to me why so many horses choose abuse, because it makes no sense. Why would they choose that? If you would think it's a soul that could choose to just be my dachshund sleeping here snoring on the bed and live its happy little life, or you know, be in situations where it can never run away or escape or be abused, as we all know, no matter what abuse of any creature on this earth. Soul contracts have got to be a thing. And I think it's why so often when someone does find their horse, it's like a real thing. It's just that knowing, the familiar feeling.
Yeah, familiar. I think that is the perfect way to describe it.
Mm. And why, when that being passes on, the grief is so intense, whether it is a dog or a human or a horse or a donkey. I love my donkeys. Can we please mention donkey?
Oh, donkeys are amazing. I work with a few donkeys and I absolutely love donkeys. They're fabulous creatures.
I love them so much. Yeah. So it's the same. There is no difference between the animal and the human. I just think we're the more messed up bunch, obviously. Yeah, we've been just so programmed on so many levels, and are epigenetically carrying so much wounding from the past. But it's like, okay, we wounded. Now how do we shift it, guys? Enough with the wounding. How can we bring something great to the next generations, the generations to come? It's fine. We're carrying from 7 before us. Can we just clear it for the 7 to come?
Yeah.
That's what I feel. That's where I'm at anyway. That's my thing.
That's where the work is.
Yeah. Well, that feels like a really nice kind of like positive look forward note to finish the podcast on. But that's been such a fascinating conversation, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's one of those conversations I think I'm going to be thinking about elements of it for the whole of the rest of the day. So yeah, thank you.
I wanted to just mention there's a lady called Lena Petersdotter. She's also she made this card deck. You would have to find it on her website.
Yeah.
But I spent 2 days with Lena in Sweden. And each of the horses in this deck, some of them are horses I know. They're living horses that have, oh, cute. Look who I drew right away. Just so beautiful.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And each of these horses has given a message to the humans. And when I asked her that question, Ross, because it comes up, I mean, as horse therapists, as horse owners, as horse lovers, we kind of can look at what's going on in the world and just go, why are you horses even here? Like, what the hell? Like, you could just leave like unicorns. You don't have to hang around. Not forcing you. And I asked her, I said, Lena, do you think exactly, Ross, what you asked me? I said, I need to be able to give people hope because there's so much darkness in the realm of all of this horse stuff. And she said that the horses don't want us to feel pity for them. They want us to know that they've got this. And they don't like the energy of pity that we put on them. And I thought,
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
I'm going to think on that and then voice note you in 3 days' time.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, pity is a very low vibration.
Without wanting to open another can of conversation, I'm thinking people don't like pity parties,
No.
but we feel on some level that pity to an animal, we don't give it a second thought. And actually, on that vibrational level, they're going to be like, no, can you leave that over there? Because that's not what I need.
Right. You don't
Oh,
like it when people feel sorry for you.
No.
The most
no.
disempowering thing you can do for someone. Feel sorry for them. Empower them in some way, but don't feel sorry for them. No one wants that.
Yeah. I've often felt that actually with dogs, like when people get a rescue dog, like at the point that you've brought it into your home, it's just a dog. Like continuing through the whole of the rest of its life with that label, it might be 10 years, with that label, you are a rescue dog. No, you're a dog. You might have
Like
some
that
things
you're
that you
an
need help
adopted
with.
child,
Yeah.
which means which you would never do with an adopted child. Or
No.
if you are, I mean, I know some people who have had that experience and it's just not okay. Like
No.
it's a label
Yeah.
and not empowering. None
Yeah.
of that is
No, we don't
empowering. None
labels.
of that is helping you. It's
Yeah.
keeping you stuck. So horses in as a whole, as a I just see this like container of souls that are in horse form are like, guys, it's okay. Like we got this. Don't come with your pity.
Mm.
We don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
definitely the end note to leave people thinking on, I think.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So,
Cool.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. We could sit here for the next 3 hours, but we've all got shizzle to do. So, could you tell anyone listening what have you got planned for 2026, and where can everyone find your work? Because they need to go and check it out.
100%.
Right. Okay. So, what I am planning on doing is offering even more stuff online in the form of podcasts and webinars and stuff like that next year because I'm not going to be traveling as much. However, I will be in the UK in October next year. I will be in Germany in July. And I am in Europe, in Sweden in May, where I will be also having the human algorithm retreat in Sweden, which is going to be super fun, on this beautiful horse farm with my friend Katerina, who owns it. So that's really nice to be going there. And then the human algorithm is going to be online. The equine workshop is online. The next one is in December, both German and English. Next human algorithm online is in February next year. Yeah, so there's a lot going on, but the best place to look is the website. I've only gotten as far as June, July, I think, but October for England is a definite. We'll probably be doing human algorithm as well as equine. We'll have a look.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's all morphing a bit. There are some surprises in store.
Amazing.
For EFTR Module 1, there is very possibly a new teacher for that, someone that I've chosen.
Okay.
Very exciting.
So that's coming soon, and I think that's great for the UK because in at least 4 directions of the UK, north, south, east, west, module 1 will be available. And then when I come, I want to do the next layer because I just can't be everywhere, and I think it's time.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Very exciting. So website is, are you going to share the link in your thing?
Yes, the link will be on the social media threads, and it'll also be in the bio of this episode, so everyone can find it there.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There's lots going on, but it's going to be a fun year. I have a really good feeling about 2026.
Same, actually. After 2025, 2026. Yeah, it's got a vibe.
Yeah, me too. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very, very much. Well, thank you everybody very much for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed this and it's been as inspiring and thought-provoking as it's absolutely been for me and for Ross. And we will very much look forward to talking to you on the next episode.